we have to talk about power. We have to. In this world, in this environment, we haven't got a choice. We've got all kinds of stuff happening globally, governmentally, individually, locally, climate change. All these major issues are fundamentally driven, wealth inequality, are driven by problems with power, right? People aren't willing to own their power, or people are willing to own their power and they're doing it so badly. Like they're doing a terrible job, let's be real. And it doesn't have to be like that. Like the major players, the major power players do not have to be people who don't have a grasp of power. There are two ways to do that. One is to change the people who are already in power, and one is to recognize that we all have some element of power and to seize our own power, to use our own power to change the power narrative globally, to change the narrative. You know, we used to have hero stories that were super popular about heroes who had like morals and ethics and were principled leaders. And we don't really see that much anymore. So I was going to create this as one class, and then I looked at the world and I looked at my reality and I looked at the reality of the people I know, and I was like, no, we can't do this as one class. It's going to have to be two classes. I'm going to split it up, and I'm going to try and see. This is an experiment. It may turn out that this needs to be a bigger container, but what I'm trying is I'm going to try to do it in 2 3-week chunks, or a 3-week chunk and a 5-week chunk, or something like that. So the first chunk is Power and You. It's the course that I'm offering right now. We'll be starting November, at the beginning of November. And what we're going to do in this class is we are going to look at relationships, personal relationship with power. So we're going to look at your authority issues, basically. We're going to look at all of the heroes and all of the villains that you've had in your life and how those relationships have shaped your own personal internal narrative of power, how you've talked about it in your communities, like all of that stuff. We're going to get right into the meat of it, because this is where it starts, right? This is where your beliefs about power change the entire narrative, and they change everything that's possible for you. So we really need to get into it, find out what you already think, what you already believe, where you learned it, and then figure out what you need instead, like what you want instead. What would you like your relationship to power to be? What would you like the way that you hold power to feel like? What would you like to be like as a power holder? And I don't want to hear, if you think you don't have power and you're determined to hold on to that, or if you think power is evil and you're determined to hold on to that, this is not the class for you, because we are not doing that. We are recognizing that we all hold power. We are recognizing where that power is, where it comes from, and how we can use it well. Like, that's the point. So if that's not a thing that you're down for, then don't sign up for this class. But then the second class, which the registration's not open yet, but it's important to know where this is going, right? The second class is all about power and leadership, how to really lead well with power. But in order to get into that, I wanted to just teach that class, but in order to get into that, we really have to start with your personal narrative of power, with your personal understanding of power, with your personal relationship to power. So sign up for this class. We'll get really into it. I do not pull punches, as anyone who knows me will tell you. And I really want to see as many people in this class as possible. So I'm going to be running some more informational stuff about it. I'm going to be inviting people. You might get sick of hearing from me. Please just know that, especially in the modern world, this is how I get the word out about such important work. And I am absolutely dedicated to getting this work in front of people, to getting people involved in this work so that we can change the power narrative. We can't change the power narrative if we don't change our own understanding of our own relationship to power. So this is where it starts. If this sounds like a thing that you could use, that somebody around you could use, that your entire team could use, especially if you're intensives, because this is really about the kind of power that intensives tend to come by easily. Right? We tend to attract people to us. We tend to lead easily. We tend to shine brightly. And if we're not doing that, it's because we're working really hard not to do that. And we can't afford that. Like, we have got to get this going. We have got to. So sign up for this class. Share it with other people. Get people in the room. Because if this course material doesn't get out there, we are not changing the world. sign up. I'll see you there at the beginning of November. I'll be sending out emails before that. Don't worry, you'll get the registration information. I have a really great classroom environment that we're going to be using. We're going to have live video. We're going to have worksheets. We're going to have opportunities to have asynchronous conversations if the time zone doesn't work or if your kids call you away or whatever is going on. But absolutely make sure you're in this conversation, because if you are in this conversation about power, then you are positioning yourself to change the way we handle power in this country and the way we handle power in this world. If you're not in the United States, it's still totally relevant, because it's not just us. It is super not just us that are having issues with our power narratives right now. So get right with power. Join this class. I'll see you there.